everyone, my name is Chloe, and today I'm here to talk about my April anticipated releases. So as I'm writing my notes of what I need to film this weekend and stuff, I'm saying my March anticipated, my February book, I'm just a month behind. But these are the books coming out in April. As always, I would love to read all of these, but this is by no means a TBR. There are a lot of good books coming out in April, and I'm going to try to do things a little bit differently in this video. So a couple times I've done it in two parts because I like to do an extensive list of everything I'm interested in, just so if you are a similar reader to me, you can find something that is interesting. And so this gets really long. It gets a little bit daunting in the research and the editing and all of that. So I've done it in two parts before. I'm not going to do that this month, I don't think. I think what I'm going to do, though, is maybe you'll see me in multiple outfits, because I today have researched part of it, and I'm going to talk to you about part of it. And then every day, probably, as I continue to research, I'm going to continue to film. So I'm not going to film it all in one big batch. So let's see if that works, and let's just go for it. So the first date is April 1st. We have Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I feel like this month is strong in Taylor Swift lyrics. Maybe I'm wrong, but this one, I don't know. I am shocked of how much of a fan of Abby Jimenez I am. She writes romance with an emotional twist, and this one, I guess, is no different. It doesn't have a ton in the synopsis, but it's about a couple who has one day together. But I think she's dealing with a lot of family stuff and it doesn't want to commit. And then they kind of do a long distance thing. Again, I'm not really sure, but I will try anything by Abby Jimenez because I have loved her books. Even though I'm not really in my romance loving era, I just feel so emotionally impacted by her books that of course I'm going to give it a shot. Then we have Swept Away by Beth Leary. So this is an author on the complete opposite side. She is kind of an anti-buzzword for me. I have not liked anything I've read by her, but they're so popular that I have such FOMO about them that I am still putting it on this list. So this is about a couple who is stranded at sea together after a one-night stand. He has family stuff going on. I think she's caring for her best friend's daughter or something. So there's some depth to it. Beth Leary is a UK author, and I just feel like the style is sometimes just not my humor. But we'll see. Then we have Insignificant Others by Sarah Geo. This is back to kind of an auto by author for me. Sarah Geo has written some of my favorite books, and I have really generally enjoyed everything that I read from her. And this one sounds like a book that is personally made for me. This is about, it's a time loop where this woman wakes up every day and she lives one day in the what might have been for a bunch of different relationships. So what might have been if this relationship didn't end, she lives one day in that, and then the next day she's in another relationship. So I don't know. That sounds really, really interesting. I love books that play with time and the what might have been. Then we have Secrets of Adulthood, Simple Truths for Our Complex Lives by Gretchen Rubin. So Gretchen Rubin has a book and a podcast and everything called The Happiness Project. And I just find her mode of communication very similar to Kendra Adachi. She's just very practical, very applicable. And so, this is about I think simplifying things, and that sounds like something I need. Then we have another nonfiction, Healing Rest, an invitation for mamas who carry so much to lean into the arms of the one who holds it all, which is quite the subtitle. But this is by Becky Thompson. And you guys know this past year I have fallen down Becky Thompson rabbit hole. I've bought or read everything from her. And Healing Rest, an invitation for mamas who carry so much to lean into the arms of those who hold the one who holds it all. So that sounds like a balm to my soul that I need right now. Then we have The Last Session by Julia Bartz. So this is the author of The Writing Retreat, which I did not love. I just didn't love it. But this one it says a white-knuckled, locked room thriller about a social worker who, after coming face-to-face with her dark past, must infiltrate a mysterious wellness center in the deserts of New Mexico. So the reason I didn't like The Writing Retreat was not because of the writing style or because I was bored or anything like that. I just didn't like the kind of sexuality aspect of that and how kind of weird that got. It just went a little far for me, so I'm hoping this one's better. Then we have Any Trope But You by Victoria Lavine. So again, I would not have guessed that I'd be that interested in this because I'm not loving straight romances, but this is a debut about a best-selling romance author who does not believe in happily ever afters. She always writes them because she's a romance author. She doesn't believe in them. And so she always writes alternate endings where divorce happens or, crazy life happens and her characters don't end up happily ever after, and those alternate endings get leaked, and so she gets canceled. She gets canceled by like her fans, by the publishers, all of that. So she has to care for her sister, I think, who is like chronically ill. So she has to make money. And so she decides to go like on a retreat to try to write a thriller. And when she's there, she's at like a resort, and there's this guy that works at the resort. He used to be like a cancer doctor or something, and now it's his family's resort. So he's there, and it's their romance. And I think, like, there's lots of tropes that happen in their romance, and it's going to be a cute, bookish romance. Then we have Tempest at Annabel's Lighthouse by Jaime Jo Wright. So Jaime Jo Wright is an author that I really, really want to try, and I have not read anything. She is a Christian fiction mystery thriller author, and it takes place in 1874. A woman wakes up in a gravesite with no idea who she is, how she got there, any of that kind of stuff, and it's by Lake Superior. And so she starts like living with this like elderly lighthouse keeper or whatever, and she feels like she's being haunted by a ghost of Annabel, and somebody also is after her, and she doesn't really know who or why. And then there's a present day timeline of a woman, I think, investigating this lighthouse. So I don't know. I know she has like ghost stories, ghost elements into it. Overall, I just want to try her. Then we have The World's Fair Quilt by Jennifer Chiaverini, maybe. I have some of her books on my shelf, and this is like number 23 or something in the Elm Creek Quilts or something. I'm not sure. You guys let me know. Do you have to read these in order? I'm sure not, but I'm sure it would be like helpful. But this is about a woman who's trying to save her quilt shop, and part of the way she's doing that is there's a historic event going on, and she has a quilt that is from it was submitted to the Chicago World's Fair in the 30s, and so it's the story of the quilt. Then we have Crash Landing by Annie McQuaid. So this is about it's another debut romance about a couple of exes who are stranded on a desert island after a plane crash. And I just think that sounds like, with exes, that sounds interesting. Then we have Spilling the Tea by Brenda Jackson. So this is about a 90-year-old woman who, her goal before she dies is to match up all of her great-grandkids. And so far, she's like 100%. And so her great-grandson was injured in Iraq and was not able to walk, but now he's like rehabbed. And he is. And then there's a main female character who I don't know how, she's not related, but she is in a car, like as a child, she was in a car crash that killed her parents. And now she is trying to find out more about her family or something, and comes in contact with the great-grandson. It's enemies to lovers. And, Brenda Jackson is one of those OG authors that can do no wrong in a lot of ways. Then we have Let Me Be the One by Lori Foster. So this is about a woman that's trying to reinvent herself. She's, I can't remember. She's like going from the city or whatever, and she's going to her uncle's farm that she inherited in Kentucky. And she's a social media girl, so she thinks she can like get the farm back on the map, but she knows nothing about farming. So insert the farmhand, Then we have The Husband Before You by A.J. McDine. So this is about a woman who gets, she's married, has a couple kids, all of that, life's great. And then her first husband shows up at her front door, and she thought he was dead. And not only like, is that like, whoa, but he's saying, don't trust your husband. And he and the husband were best friends. And so what's going on? Which husband can she trust? Sounds like juicy mama drama. Then we have The Summer of Starting Over by Savannah Carlisle. That's really all I need. This is about a woman starting over. She was like a musician or a pop star or something, and she's going back to her hometown, facing her high school first love, the one who got away. Sounds so sweet. Then we have Heartwood. So these last three that are on April 1st, all are maybe too literary for me, but we're going to see. So Heartwood, it says, takes you on a gripping journey as a search and rescue team race against time, when an experienced hiker mysteriously disappears on the Appalachian Trail in Maine. So I read the book about like the the hikers that went missing, and it's still unsolved. And I since then and Happiness for Beginners, which is Happiness for Beginners by Catherine Center, which is a totally different vibe, but about hiking, and I've loved. And the Tracy Garvis Graves one about geocaching. Everything I've read about hiking I love, so let's try it. Then we have Rabbit Moon by Jennifer Haigh. So this is about It's a family drama set in Shanghai, China, and it's about a divorced couple who get a call that their daughter, who is like taking a gap year in China teaching, she's been hurt in a hit and run. So they go over to China, discover family secrets, and I don't really know, but I just think that sounds interesting. And then we have American Housewife by Anita Abriel. So this one actually doesn't seem too literary for me. This takes place in the 50s in New York. There's a radio personality that gets the opportunity to have her own show, but it's like it's the Maggie Lane baking show. And so she has to be a 1950s housewife and be all prim and proper and bake and wear her pearls and wear her heels and do all of that. And that is not her personality. And behind the scenes, her marriage is crumbling, all of that. So can she still do this when her life is falling apart? We'll see. So that's April 1st. Now, we'll be back with the next date in just a minute. Okay, same day bonus buddy. So we've got a couple that come on the off days. So books typically publish on Tuesdays. However, some of these are Indie Pub or Kindle editions or American editions or whatever the case may be. So on April 2nd, we have The People Next Door by Kate Braithwaite. This is a suburban drama about a woman who her sister went missing like 20 years ago. And now she moves into this kind of idyllic suburban, cul-de-sac. And she has a fake identity basically, trying to figure out what happened to her sister. And somebody knows. And so there's double kind of sinister and tense. Then we have April 6th, Violets Are Blue by Miranda Ricks. This is about a woman that goes missing on the cul-de-sac, and on a cul-de-sac. Again, it's a suburban drama. Can you tell I love it? A woman goes missing, and our main character decides to be the defense attorney for her husband, because her husband is the main suspect, the woman's husband. And so she's defending him. She also started a romance with the guy next door who's a piano player and stuff. And she's thinking between the two men, she's in trouble. And I think she's a defense attorney, kind of take no heck kind of lady. So hopefully she puts up a fight of her own. Then we have The Good Parents by Jessica Huntley. So this is about a woman who her twin sister dies. And she's just kind of in a rough spot in life. And so her twin sister dies. She finds out she's pregnant, and she's like, I just can't do this. So she decides to give up the baby for adoption. Now, she is a pastry chef, and so she finds this couple who wants to adopt her baby, and they say, okay, you can live with us while you're pregnant and be our pastry chef. But these people have some sketchy motives, so we'll see. Then April 7th, My Loving Husband by Cheryl Brown. So this is about a woman, again, who thinks she has this idyllic life, living the suburban dream, and somebody texts her and says, hey, your husband's planning to kill you. And so she said, and then it says something like, he's not the most dangerous one in the house. So a cat and mouse between husband and wife. I don't know. I love these suburban dramas. I love that so many are coming out. They're great on Kindle. They're great anytime. So yeah, I'm excited for it. Okay, we are back with April 8th. So we have The California Dreamers by Amy Mason Doan. So this is set in the 80s, and it's about a family who travels up and down the coast of California in their van. And I think one day, someone takes a picture of them. It's a bunch of siblings and their parents, I think. And somebody takes a picture of them, and that kind of threatens their peaceful life. And then many years later, they're estranged. The siblings are estranged, and people are digging into who is behind the pictures. And so they're forced to face family secrets. I don't know. 1980s California sounds like a good thing to read in the summer. Then we have The Griffin Sisters' Greatest Hits by Jennifer Weiner. So Jennifer Weiner is kind of an auto-read author for me. I loved her back in the early 2000s. And so, of course, I put this on this list without even knowing what it's about. But now knowing what it's about, I am even more interested. So it's about two sisters who become a pop sensation. They are a little duo band. And they're coming of age in the early 2000s, so right around the time where Britney Spears, all of that kind of stuff. I don't know if those characters or if those people will be in the story, but that age, in 2000, I turned 11. And so I was just at that prime stage. I wasn't coming into adulthood, but I was coming into teenhood. And so that, it just sounds like something that I'm going to love. And then it follows them 2 decades later and where these sisters are now. So I'm interested for sure. Then we have Fun for the Whole Family by Jennifer E. Smith. So she wrote The Unsinkable Greta James, and I never read that. But this is about 4 siblings who grew up with a mom who was really MIA, except like every summer she would come take them on some like epic road trip. And decades later, again, this is very, like, there seems to be a theme. Decades later, the siblings are estranged, and one of them is famous, and she's, like, calling her 4 siblings together, or her 3 siblings, I guess there's 4 of them total, calling them all together and saying, like, we are going to meet up, in a small town in North Dakota or somewhere. And it seems like she's the only one that has her life together. But again, they all have secrets, especially her. And so maybe they're not as together as they seem. Then we have The Little Liar by Mitch Albom. So Mitch Albom writes a lot of, I don't know, kind of inspirational, based on a true story kind of things. And this is an interesting one. I think this is his first time writing about World War II. And this follows an 11-year-old boy who is living in Greece. And he trusts a German soldier that says, like, he'll help protect his family. Instead, what the German soldier does is sends them all to Auschwitz. And so from that point on, the little boy never tells the truth again. He becomes the little liar. And we're following the perspective of, I think, the little boy and then his brother and a classmate as they all try to, or I think they do survive. I think it tells you they do survive Auschwitz. But it's told from the perspective of the voice of truth. And so it's going to be an interesting, either a huge flop for me or a big win. I'm not sure, but I'm willing to try it out. Then we have Happy Land by Dolan Perkins Valdez. And so now this one is one that, just based on the premise, I don't think I would have any interest in. But Dolan Perkins Valdez wrote Take My Hand, which was a book that I really liked. And so this one is about let's see what it says. A woman learns the incredible story of a real-life American kingdom and her family's ties to it. So it's fairy tale-esque. Her great something was like the queen. I'm not really sure. It sounds, like I said, fairy tales aren't really my jam. Fantasy is not really my jam, but I trust this author. Then we have The Trouble with Secrets by Naomi Milner. So this is about a Jewish girl. I think it's a YA, maybe an upper middle grade, about a Jewish girl preparing for her upcoming bat mitzvah, and she's trying to keep a secret along with one of her sisters in this beautiful coming-of-age contemporary novel that explores change, grief, and the complexity of sibling relationships. So I love that. That's all I need to know, and I will definitely give it a shot. Then we have Passion Project by London Sperry. So this is about a girl. Her first love died, and I don't know if they were together or what, but her first love died, and she's just trying to find passion for something. Not necessarily romance, but it says carpentry, tattoos, rappelling off skyscrapers. She's just trying to do it all to like re-experience some sort of excitement and joy in life. Then we have The Matchmaker by Aisha Saeed. This is a society matchmaker realizes she's in danger when her clients' weddings are sabotaged in increasingly disturbing ways. So she's a wedding planner and things start getting sabotaged, so it's got to be her. Then we have Some Like It Scott by Pepper Basham. So Pepper Basham is a Christian fiction author that I have yet to try. And this one, it says, an American travel writer who has never found a place to belong and a reclusive Scot with a surprising secret find a shocking connection when she enters a Highlands manor house that has been turned into a 3-week-long Edwardian experience. So she is the daughter of an army chaplain, and so she's moved around a lot, and she becomes a travel writer. Now she's 30. She's kind of unsettled. She gets this job for 3 weeks trying to live in this Scottish house that is trying to give people an Edwardian experience. Again, I'm not really sure. I know there's a quirky cast of characters, and I really want to try this author, and I keep hearing about this book, so what a good place to start, maybe? Then we have The Maid's Secret by Nita Prose. So this is Molly the Maid number 3. I have not started any of these books yet, but number 3 is coming out if you are into it. Then we have This Is Not a Game by Kelly Mullen. So this is a unique locked room debut with a memorable intergenerational relationship and gaming angle about a grandma and granddaughter who are snowed in at a lavish party at a mansion where the host has been murdered, and the unlikely sleuthing pair must draw on a unique skill set to navigate a dangerous game together. That is quite the blurb, but I am really interested. Then we have The Promised Land by Kathy Golke. So this is a Christian fiction about a woman who inherits her family's Christmas tree farm. So weird for it to be coming out in April, but whatever. She was kind of shunned by her family before, and her nephew was upset because he thought he would inherit the farm. And he is a Vietnam vet, so I'm guessing this is historical. And he's got 3 little kids, and so she's excited to inherit this thing, but also like her life, I think, was very reminiscent of her nephew's now, and so she's not sure what to do. This is a prodigal story of some sort, and so I can imagine the allegory is going to be kind of strong, but we'll see. Then we have The Page Turner by Viola Shipman. So this is a girl who is like the black sheep of her bookish family. So her parents and everything have like a whole company. I don't know if it's a publishing company or something, but they think the only literature worth reading is like highbrow, bougie literature. And she writes a romance novel. And her grandma was really into romance. And so she finds a secret, I think, that could bring her parents' business kind of down. And she doesn't know what to do. Does she defend her family, or does she let the mighty fall? So I as a romance reader, I would say I have a strong opinion on this, so hopefully it's a good one. Then we have Save the Date by Allison Raskin. So this is about a woman that gets dumped 6 months before her wedding. And I mean, that's hard on its own, but she is an online creator with a book deal, and she's like has a private practice, all based on her knowledge of romantic relationships. So she sets out to try to find a new groom by her wedding date. And I think she publicly documents it. Then we have The Sideways Life of Denny Voss by Holly Kennedy. So I'm not sure about this one. This one follows a 30-year-old man who lives with his mother and his, like, I think, deaf St. Bernard. And he has a developmental delay. And so he lives more of a simple life, but he's really happy with it until he gets convicted of murder, or maybe accused, I'm not sure, of a candidate for mayor. And it seems like this guy just keeps getting himself in situations. It says he is involved in the kidnapping of a neighbor's goose. He accidentally helped a bank robber, etc. And so it sounds like it's going to be funny, but then it also says it reveals painful truths as he works through the past year with his therapist. So I have no idea what the tone of this book is going to be, but it could be great. Then we have I Was Told There'd Be a Village, Transforming Motherhood Through the Power of Connection by Melissa Wirt. So they always say it takes a village, it takes a village, it takes a village. And by golly, where's that village? That doesn't come like when you have the baby. There's not just a village that pops out. So again, the power of connection in a society and in a world where we are led to believe that we can do it all on our own. And so anything that combats that, because that is a narrative that is really loud in my head. So anything that combats that, I am here for it. Then we have You and Other Natural Disasters by Maria Martinez. So this is about a 20-year-old who wants to become a book editor, but she inherits her grandma's bookstore. And she's like not sure what to do because she wants to be a book editor and not run a bookstore, but whatever. So her family comes into town for her sister's wedding. And so does like a family friend that she's been in love with forever. And so she decides just to like jump ship and go on an island to figure herself out. And I don't know. I feel like I am laughing at that premise because holy privilege, but it says it's an emotional thing for fans of Colleen Hoover, so we'll see. Then we have Too Hot to Handle by Portia McIntosh. So this is about a bachelorette party in Spain, and the villa is double booked with like a bachelor party. So there's a bunch of guys, a bunch of girls. They have a competition to see who gets to keep the villa. So it says like sweet with a little spice or something. So I am not sure how I'm going to feel about this. If you've read Portia McIntosh, let me know. I don't think I have. So I don't know how spicy she gets. Then we have April 9th, The Marriage Rules by Samantha Hayes. So this is an interesting thriller about a nurse who's married to a doctor. Everything is hunky-dory. They have babies. They have twins or girls or something. But they have a bunch of rules. They can't leave the house. No TV, no social media. Phones are emergency only. Everyone has to be in bed at 8 o'clock. And then someone starts breaking the rules. So what are the consequences? I want to find out. Then April 10th, we have The Forgotten Book Club by Kate Story. So this, from what I can tell, the Kindle comes out April 10th, and the paperback doesn't come out until December 2nd. But this is about a woman's husband. A woman was married. Her husband was really bookish. She's not a reader at all. Then her husband dies, and he was in a book club, and so she decides to join the book club to kind of be closer to him. And the book club is kind of struggling, so she revives it. I'm assuming finds a love of reading and friends, and as she's going through the grieving process. Then we have Still Got It by Claire Carver. So this is about a 50-something widow going to Greece for a second chance at life, and she meets a special armed forces soldier or something. I don't know, but I love women starting over. You guys know, and set at Greece, sign me up. Then Wish You Were Here by Alex Brown. So this is about three best friends who are celebrating one of their birthdays in the Hamptons, at the house where one of their husbands grew up. The husband has since passed, so I think it's going to be slightly emotional, but when it's fiction about these three women.
Then April 11th, I'm Here to Help by Claire Lund. So this is, again, the nanny gone wrong thriller. And so this is about a woman. It's from the mom's perspective. She falls down the stairs, wakes up in the hospital, thinks maybe the nanny did it. The nanny has been there the whole time and is a little maybe sinister. Then we have The Book of Lost Children by Jenny O'Brien. This says a wartime nurse risks everything to protect mothers and babies in Nazi-occupied Guernsey. Decades later, a hidden record reveals a devastating family truth based on a remarkable true story of one woman's extraordinary courage. So that sounds wonderful. Then we have Meet Me Under the Clock by Joe Lovett. Nadia and Tom are both unceremoniously stood up by their dates under the clock at Waterloo Station, and fate throws them together in the most unusual of circumstances. So this is a fake dating situation. It says for fans of Beth O'Leary and Sophie Kinsella. I really have not cared for Beth O'Leary, but I really like Sophie Kinsella. So will I like it? We'll see. Then we have April 13th, One Dark Summer by Saskia Sargensen. So Saskia Sargensen, I have another book by her somewhere on my shelves, and I have not, it's called The Other Me, and I haven't read it, but this says, this is from the perspective of a girl taking the nanny job. So again, another kind of nanny thriller, but this is the nanny, and she is going to this house, and she's scared of this house because she has a past there. So when she, was 15 or something, I don't know. Her mom, she lived there and her mom went missing. She thinks she killed a guy. So will this family figure it out before she does? I don't know. Then we have April 14th, First Time Mother by A.J. Campbell. So this can be done really well or really not well because this is about a first-time mom. The baby goes missing and the mom thinks maybe she did it because she's been having blackouts and she doesn't know. She's really been struggling with postpartum, like mood issues, sleep issues, kind of some crazy thoughts in her head, and so she doesn't know how innocent she is, but she's desperate to get her baby back. And it says for fans of, you guessed it, Frida McFadden and Geneva Rose, both authors I like, so maybe it's great. We'll see. Hey everyone, so we're back. I've got the house to myself, and so let's knock the rest of these dates out. So there's so much coming out, but April 15th, we have What If I Never Get Over You by Paige Toon. So this is about a couple that meets and spends 3 days together in Spain, and then they plan to meet back up. He doesn't show. It says it's like a combo of One Day meets Bridgerton, so that's a really interesting combo, and I think like 6 years later, he comes back into her life, and what the heck? Where was he? Why didn't he show? What's going to happen? Then we have Murder by Cheesecake, which is Golden Girls Cozy Mystery #1 by Rachel Ekstrom Courage. So I don't need any more than that. Honestly, a Golden Girls themed cozy mystery. Like, you guys know I'm not a huge cozy mystery fan, like reader, but I am 100% going to read this because it's about like the actual Golden Girls character. So I think Dorothy's date dies to like Rose has a St. Olaf themed wedding. I don't know if it's her getting married or what. And Dorothy's date dies. Oh my gosh. Sign me up. Then we have Strangers in Time by David Baldacci. So David Baldacci writes a whole bunch of stuff like thrillers, inspirational kind of romance. And so this is set in London in 1944, and a bereaved bookshop owner gets like makes friends with two teenagers, and it says, and the healing and hope they find in one another. So they have to come together to survive. And I really like those books about like younger, older mentor relationships. But I'm not sure. I don't know that I've ever read a historical by him, so we'll see. Then we have The Perfect Divorce by Geneva Rose. So this is the sequel to The Perfect Marriage. So in The Perfect Marriage, a woman, I think, defends her husband. I really like The Perfect Marriage. I don't remember details, but she defends her husband against the charge of like murdering his mistress. And now they're divorced. Things have happened. And I think the case gets reopened. And so I don't know. That sounds really messy. Then we have The Voice We Find by Nicole Deese. So this is the third in her Fog Harbor series. And I've read the first, and I think the three books are all kind of standalones, all connected around like this publishing house. Correct me if I'm wrong. As with all like series, I think that there's probably characters that pop in and out, so you would want to read them in order if that's important to you, but I think they can be standalones too. So this is about a failed Broadway star. She comes back to work at her family's winery with her brother, and she becomes an audiobook narrator for Fog Harbor Books, and I think she has a romance with like one of the sound engineers
years, and he's got custody of his teenage daughter who is hearing impaired. So lots of depth. These are Christian fiction books with, like, Christian fiction romance books with lots of depth, not overly cheesy at all. Really, I really liked the one that I read. Then we have Didn't You Used to Be Queenie Bee by Terry Lynn DeFino. So I think I've read one by this author. The reason I know that is because my aunt's name is Terry Lynn, and so that's just interesting. But this is about a celebrity chef falls from grace. You know, things go sour for her, and she mysteriously disappears, like even from her family and everything. And then we follow a line cook who is struggling to get by and starts working in a soup kitchen, and the chef there is Queenie Bee. And so this line cook gets a role on a, like, reality cooking show, and I think that Queenie Bee is going to get exposed. Then The Eights by Joanna Miller. So this is about 4 women who are enrolled in Oxford shortly after, like, Oxford College after World War I. So it's like the 20s, and right at the time that women were starting to get admitted into college, and they become friends and just navigate life at that time. Post World War I, flu still going around, all that kind of stuff. So hardships I'm sure avail. Then we have First Love, Second Draft by Becca Kinzer. This is another Christian fiction author. So it's about a romance writer experiencing a writer's block after her and her husband divorced. And I think it's been like 5 years. I think it's been a while that they've been divorced. And now she is badly injured and needs his help for whatever reason. A second chance. Like, I love the marriage in trouble trope. I love a first love, second chance. I don't know that that's what this is, but it sounds interesting. Then Love in 280 Characters or Less. This one it says Black college student Sydney Sierra navigates academics, love, and the online realm in this young adult coming-of-age romance told through her blog posts, messages, social media posts, and more. So she goes to college, doesn't know anybody, and she meets somebody on Twitter and in real life, and I'm not sure if they're the same person. I've never done Twitter or X or whatever it's called now, but is that still a thing? Like, is that still the big social media? I feel like Instagram and TikTok and all of that has really taken over Twitter, but, like, I also could just be under a rock. And then we have Coram House by Bailey Siebold. So this is a haunting novel inspired by a true story about a crime writer who risks everything as she investigates the mystery of 2 deaths decades apart at a crumbling Vermont orphanage. So orphanage is kind of a buzzword for me, so this one sounds great. And then we have Francine's Spectacular Crash and Burn by Renee Swindell, or Swindle maybe. So this is about a woman named Francine. She took care of her agoraphobic mom, but now her mom dies, and it kind of swirls her into depression. And so she starts, like, taking her mom's meds, dancing maniacally to her mom's favorite disco music, etc. And then a 10-year-old boy, she sees, like, he gets bullied outside of her door, and they kind of become friends. So again, that, like, child-adult relationship, I mean, as long as we're not being peevy, it's something I really like. Then we have The 7 O'Clock Club by Amelia Ireland. So this is 4 strangers are brought together to participate in an experimental treatment designed to heal broken hearts in this debut novel. So they discover why they were all 4 brought together and what their connection is, and it shakes everything up. So I'm intrigued by so much of that. Experimental treatment designed to heal broken hearts. I don't know. It could be great. Then The Influencers by Anna Marie McLemore. So this is a social media influencer's empire is burned to the ground, literally. The top suspects are the 5 daughters who made her famous. So, I don't know. Krista from Books and Jams called my girls a gaggle of girls, and I just can't forget it. And it's so funny. And I think about, like, right now they're little, but when they revolt, it's going to be intense. And so this book kind of reminds me of that. Then we have One Death at a Time by Abby Waxman. So I have yet to read an Abby Waxman, but this is about a cranky former actress teams up with her Gen Z sobriety sponsor to solve the murder that threatens to send her back to prison. So she has done time in prison for a previous murder, I think. I don't know if she was wrongly convicted or what. I don't know. What's the tone of this book going to be? You guys tell me. Then we have The Guilt Pill. This is The Other Black Girl Meets the Push, which, interesting, in this taut psychological drama about a CEO on maternity leave who goes missing after she becomes addicted to an experimental guilt-erasing pill, exploring themes of motherhood, privilege, race, and how the world treats women who dare to have it all. So whoa, a guilt pill? That like, I don't know a mother for sure, but like anybody who's juggling a bunch of things and doesn't have some guilt at times. And like mom guilt is intense. And so I would probably, like, I'm glad this doesn't exist because I would probably get addicted as well. Then we have Frankie Nightingale Begins Again by Emma Davies. So this is about our bakery owner. She likes being solo, just kind of doing her own thing. Then a guy comes to her window, followed by like 2 other people, and she like starts to make friends with him and maybe have a romance, but then her ex-husband comes and it may destroy everything. So I don't know how that works, but we'll see. Then April 22nd, we have The Summer of You and Me by Denise Hunter. So Denise Hunter is a Christian fiction author, and I really like her. This is about Maggie. She's finally ready to find love again until the past shows up in the form of someone who may or may not be the late husband that she thought she'd lost. So she has this husband that died, she thinks, and his brother has always like had a crush on her, held a flame for her, whatever, and he like it's unrequited. And then she goes to the carnival or something and sees this guy that she thinks is her husband. So hopefully not a love triangle, but maybe if it's done well. Then we have Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. So this is about 2 writers competing for a chance to tell their larger-than-life story of a woman with more than a couple plot twists up her sleeve. So this woman, this famous person, invites them both for a 1-month trial, and then she'll pick who gets to write her story. So maybe a little Evelyn Hugo-esque. Then we have The Book Club for Troublesome Women by Marie Bostwick. So honestly, that's all I need is that title. But this is about 4 dissatisfied 60s era's housewives form a book club turned sisterhood that will hold fast amid the turmoil of a rapidly changing world and alter the course of each of their lives. So sounds really great. Then Summer Light on Nantucket by Nancy Thayer. Or I think that's how you say her last name. I'm not sure. This is a divorced mom of 4 goes on a family trip to Nantucket. And I think like maybe her ex-husband's a part of it too. Dealing with teen angst, her mother-in-law is sick. There's secrets involving her ex-husband and maybe her first love. Another guy comes into the picture, just summer chaos, and I'm here for it. I love Nantucket summer stories. Then we have The Other Sister by Jessica R. Patch. So this is about a woman that discovers that she has a twin sister that was given up for adoption, and like she discovers this as an adult. So there's lots of secrets, of course. It says she thought she was the only one lying about her identity until she stepped into her sister's life. So how does that happen? I don't know. Then A Town with Half the Lights by Paige Gertz, maybe? I don't know. This is an epistolary novel about a family of people from Brooklyn, New York, that have to come live in Goodnight, Kansas, and their fight for their unexpected lifeline, the legendary Mayday Diner. So I live in Kansas. I live in Kansas City, though. And Kansas City, like the Kansas reputation is Western Kansas, where it's flat, fields for days, dust blowing in the wind. All of that is not how Kansas City is, but I'm guessing Goodnight, Kansas is a tiny, small town that does kind of fit that. And I just can't imagine being from Brooklyn and trying to live there, but saving a diner sounds great. Then we have The Summer That Shaped Us by Lori Wilde. So this says 3 generations of women, an island with an air of mystery and magic, and one summer that changes everything. Perfect for fans of Jill Shalvis and Susan Mallory. I'm definitely fans of both of those authors. But this is about like an elusive woman who runs a crafting resort. And the crafting resort is for people to come like recover from heartbreak or some sort of emotional turmoil. So I think 2 or 3 generations of people go there, and it's their interaction with this owner. And I don't know more than that, but I don't need to. And the island has an air of mystery and magic. So I don't know if there's some magical realism to this or what. Then we have Murder Between Friends by Liz Lawson. So 2 years ago, the murder of a neighbor tore 3 best friends apart. Now the killer is going to walk free, and the ex-friends are going to have to face the past and each other. So 3 best friends, somebody dies, and one of them testified against the other one's brother. And so, of course, that tore them apart. Now I think the brother was convicted, and he's about to walk free because of a faulty trial or a mistrial or whatever you call that. And I don't know that we're all convinced that the brother actually did it, so reopening that case. Then If You Stayed by Brittany C. Cherry. So you guys, I have loved Brittany C. Cherry in the past. When I was in my romance days, she was the bee's knees. And I have a video reading a bunch of her books. I really liked her books. Now she was indie pub, and now she is traditionally published. And the books have changed a little bit, but this one sounds really good. So this is, it says, there once was a man who loved me until he forgot every memory we've ever shared. So her first love is in a bad accident. I think it's after they broke up because he doesn't remember her. They separate many years later, like 2 decades later or something. He comes back into her life because he is the architect building her new home. And she's in a loveless marriage, trapped in kind of motherhood. So there's that appeal of that first love. And I don't know what's going to happen. In the Beautiful Dark by Melissa Payne is our next one. This is a woman investigates a friend's long ago murder in a haunting and hopeful novel about the weight of secrets and regrets. So this is told in a retirement community from an older lady trying to figure out old murder cases as new ones pop up. I don't think this is like the cozy mystery trend. I think it's more of a thriller because I'm guessing this lady was somehow involved in the original murder. Then we have Joyride by Ellen Meister. So it says, in this poignantly quirky ride through Brooklyn, an idealistic young woman shares her earnest joy with her Uber clients, her cranky father, and the Wall Street hotshot who started it all. So it's about an Uber driver that wants to be a life coach. And I don't know, that's so funny. It's been a long time since I've been in an Uber or a Lyft or anything, but I think this is going to be hilarious. Then we have Band Nerd by Sarah Clausen Willis. So this is a middle grade graphic novel about a 12-year-old who is struggling with like the stereotype of being a band nerd. She also really wants to compete for like the solo job and it's not a job, but you know what I'm saying. And she has some troubles at home. So I love middle grade graphic novels. You guys know it. So I'm definitely going to read it. Then we have You Make My Heart Stop by Becky Hunter. So this is about it says a young woman who must decide between her life on earth and her soulmate who she can only be with in the afterlife. So this woman has a heart condition where her heart randomly stops. And at any point, it could stop beating, like just not start again. So her heart stops. And every time she has these kind of near-death, heart-stopping events, she sees this guy in like kind of a limbo area where she's not dead, she's not alive. There's this guy somewhere in the afterlife. And so she thinks it's her soulmate. And then life has a way of like keeping her living and keeping curveballs being thrown. So where does she want to be? In the afterlife with this soulmate or here on Earth? Sounds interesting. Then we have Between the Waves by Hilary Taylor. So this is about families that vacation together. Many years ago, one goes missing and is never found. The others all have guilt about, their role in what did or didn't happen. And now 20 years later, a true crime podcaster is coming back, like stirring things up because new evidence has been found. So if you like that podcast element, here's another one that will hopefully be great. Then we have The Bright Years by Sarah Damoff. So I'm not sure about this one. It might be a little more literary, but it says one family, 4 generations, a secret son, a devastating addiction. A Texas family is met with losses and surprises of inheritance, but they're unable to shake the pull back toward each other in this big-hearted family saga, perfect for readers of Mary Beth Keane, who I have not read, and Claire Lombardo, who I have not read, but I really want to read all of them. It says, Tahari Jones is quoted as saying, a heartbreaker and a heart mender all at once. So it's about a couple that has a baby and kind of an up and down marriage. And then as the baby grows up, we're following her, and the mom had a secret son. And so a lot's revealed, family drama. Then we have April 23rd, Where Do We Go From Here by Nick Alexander. So this is, it says, I reminded myself that I wanted this break. For the first time in years, I'm completely, blissfully alone. But as the days pass, I begin to realize a painful truth. For years, I've been telling a story about my life, a story that stopped me from falling apart. But what if I have the chance to rewrite it? So this is about a mom, who takes a break at a remote cabin in France. She gets this space and then she regrets it. And like, I can so relate to that idea of like just wanting space. But then as soon as you get it, it's like, oh, I kind of wonder what my kids are doing. And kind of like, I don't know how to fill this silence. It kind of freaks me out. But so she's left with her thoughts and she has to face the past. And it says, when all seems lost, can she find herself again? So I don't know. I feel like this could be relatable. Then April 24th, The Last Secret Kept by Elaine Stock. So this is set in 1961. A small-town defense attorney takes the case of a female friend. Her husband has been accused of murder, and I think her husband has, like, limited intelligence for some reason. And there was an act of betrayal in World War II that kind of unravels the case, and it's surrounding the creation of the Berlin Wall. So sounds interesting. Sounds like a lot. Then 5 Things I Love About You by Claire Swatman. So this is about a divorced empty nester that wakes up in the hospital, and she doesn't know really what happened, and it just kind of shakes her life up. And she keeps having these reoccurring dreams where she sees this guy, and she knows she's, like, in love with this guy but doesn't know who he is. And so she gets 5 clues in the dream about who he is, and so she's trying to find this guy based on her dreams. Then April 29th, Tough Luck by Sandra Dallas. So I'm currently reading my first ever Sandra Dallas, but I am intrigued by a lot of her plot lines. And this says, in this homage to true grit, a young woman makes a perilous journey west in 1863 in search of her gold mining father. So a girl and her brother, dad leaves. I don't know what happened to mom. Her and her brother are put into work in an orphanage, and they decide to, like, skip out and go find their dad. And then we have What Comes After by Katie Barrell. This is about a 16-year-old girl who dies and goes to, like, a limbo place where people have to kind of address unfinished business. And her unfinished business is issues with her mom. And her mom has also recently died, so they're both there and have to kind of work out their stuff before they can move on. So mother-daughter dynamics, really interesting to me. Then we have Such a Good Mom by Julia Spiro. So this is about a woman that lives on Martha's Vineyard full time, and not a summer thing. She's newly postpartum. Her husband is kind of, like, disconnected, distant. And then a friend of the family's body washes ashore dead, and her husband is arrested. So she's not sure who to trust, honestly. She doesn't know if she can trust her husband, obviously. Doesn't know if she can trust other people, but also doesn't know if she can trust herself because she is deep in postpartum depression, exhaustion, all of that kind of stuff. Then we have The Edge of Yesterday by Rita Woods. So this is about, this one, I don't know. This might be too sci-fi for me, but it is about a dancer and an architect who are, like, the dream couple until she gets diagnosed with a neurological disorder that is going to end her career. It really shakes up her marriage, all of that. She finds this portal that takes her back to 1925 in Detroit, and she meets a charming doctor who's a part of the Black aristocracy. So, of course, in this time, Prohibition is going on, the KKK is big, and she gets trapped, I think, in 1925. So I love books that play with time, but this one might get a little seedy for me and a little sci-fi. I'm not sure. And then we have Serial Killer Games by Kate Posey. So this, I think, is a funny, like, comedy about someone who thinks the office temp is definitely a serial killer, and then they get involved in like, hiding a body. And it says, a morbidly funny and emotionally resonant novel about the ways life and love can sneak up on us, no matter how much pepper spray we carry. So it's definitely gonna be funny. Then we have Gold Coast Dilemma by Nana Malone. So this is a romance about a Ghanaian American heiress faced with the dilemma of choosing between culture and a love connection. So I've been craving YA lately, and I think that's what this is. And then we have To Light the Way Forward by Nancy Nagel. So Nancy Nagel, I think I've only read her Christmas books, and she writes a lot of Hallmarky Christmas books. But this is about a widow that goes to visit a friend on an island, even though she knows a hurricane is coming, and she gets connected with this owner of a diner. The diner gets destroyed. He is recently widowed. And so and so is she, obviously. And so they, come together to heal in a lot of ways, like, from grief, and then also rebuild from the hurricane. And I think they also, like, help a younger couple that's kind of struggling. So again, that mentor relationship is something I really like. Then we have Bad Influence by Claire On. So this is, it says, in this contemporary YA novel, high school student Charlotte is an aspiring Asian American fashion influencer desperately trying to lift her family out of hardship, only to find it may come at a higher cost than any Chanel bag. So she posts about a racist event that happens to her, and it kind of goes viral. And so she starts gaining fame in this influencer culture, and she realizes that, like, she might lose some things by gaining all this popularity. And then we have Fortunate Harbor by Davis Bunn. So this says, for fans of Nicholas Sparks and Karen Kingsbury, it's the first in a dazzling new series of romantic, feel-good, standalone stories with a dash of adventure set against the dramatic landscape of North Carolina's Outer Banks. The perfect place for second chances, bittersweet love, and a thrilling quest. So this is about a man that comes back to the Outer Banks after, like, his dad died there, I think when he was a teen or something. And so his mom made the two of them move. Now he's back, and he is trying to open like a resort of some sort. A girl from his past who's now a woman doesn't want him to. They have an old connection, of course, and then the land that they're arguing over has secrets, I think. Then we have Hello, Juliet by Samantha M. Bailey. This says a TV reunion brings co-stars back for the drama and betrayals their viewers once craved, and this time the stakes are deadly. Bum, bum, bum. Summer in a Bottle by Annie Raines. So this is about a woman that goes back to her hometown to help her parents list their house for sale, and she digs up a time capsule from her last summer living at home. So she's graduated high school right before she goes to college. She buried this time capsule. Now she's digging it up, and she finds her diary, and things start happening exactly as they're happening in the diary. So again, I love books that play with time. Annie Raines and I have a love-hate relationship, and so I'm not sure that I'll love this, but I love the premise, so hopefully. Then we have Summer on Cape May by Monica Garner. So it says, set over one summer in the charming seaside resort of Cape May, New Jersey, amid the planning of a lavish wedding, three longtime friends find that past secrets, new loves, and hard choices test their bond like never before. Then we have, again, Only More Like You by Catalina Merglis. This says, for fans of Jennifer Weiner, which I love, and Ellen Hildebrand, which I love, friendship and reinvention in your 40s. That's kind of enough, but this is about a woman who's not quite 40, and she's dumped, pregnant, fired, all the things. Her marriage has just fallen apart. She lives in New York City, I think. Her best friend is in Maine and is a marine biologist, is kind of suffering the downfall of a affair with her boss. And so both are trying to reinvent themselves, start over, and their friendship is testing. Tragedy strikes, and they have to face old hurts. But they're both trying to decide, is the best, as they're approaching their 40th birthdays, is the best behind them or is the best yet to come? I can really relate to that. And I'm not 40, but I am in my 30s and thinking about I don't know. I mean, life is so different now than it was 10, 15 years ago, but in 10 or 15 years too, it'll be so different again. And they're all great in different ways. Then we have See How They Fall by Rachel Paris. This is a debut thriller about a woman who married into a wealthy family and thought it was great, but then the patriarch dies and an illegitimate heir comes forward. And I think it happens at a weekend retreat. Tempers flare, egos clash, somebody dies. It's intense. Then we have The New Marriage by L.G. Davis. So this is about a husband who's hiding secrets about what happened to his first wife. Hopefully a popcorn thriller. Not anything that you probably haven't read before, but still interesting. And then last is The Light on Horn Island by Valerie Fraser Luce. This is about a woman's New York life falls apart, and her grandma convinces her to go back to the small town Mississippi home where she's from. And the woman gets to know her grandma's friends, but more so an antique shop owner that gives games and things to people where they need it most. And so she or he gives them a Victorian parlor game that asks them personal questions and uncovers a lot of secrets that shake things up. So that is everything coming out in April. Sorry for such a long video. Sorry for a disjointed video. I don't know if this worked out better for me or not, or if I should make this a two-parter or not. You guys let me know your opinions. If you like these really long videos, I will keep it as one. If you guys like it as two, I can try to slot in two, make it a two-parter. But yeah, that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.